Hey there, my name's Kevin, and I want to welcome you to our new series, Step Up Your Strumming Baritone Version. In this series, we're going to take a look at several different strumming patterns and take them and apply them to chord progressions so that you can actually utilize them and practice them. So we're going to go day by day here and also go through a lot of mechanics and how to get in the best position to strum, all the little things that you need to make this baritone sound as sweet as possible. So get tuned up and let's get to it. So before we dive into strumming, we're going to talk a little bit about the mechanics and getting into the best playing position possible when you start strumming. So a couple of those components here that I want to share with you are, first, you want to have a nice 45-degree angle with your baritone. So I rest that on my upper thigh, whether that's your right or left thigh, depends on if you're a righty or lefty. So you want to keep that braced up against your body as well. So the uke is on my upper right thigh, it's up against my torso, and then this is the most important thing right here. Taking your arm, and basically what I like to do is take my middle finger and kind of match it up with the bottom corner underneath where the neck meets the body here. And that puts my hand in position where I'm going to be doing the strumming. The other facet to that is having my forearm here bracing the instrument up against my torso. So if you don't have sleeves on, that's probably the best case scenario. Keeping a little skin on the instrument will keep it adhered and nice and tight up against your body, so you don't have to worry about the instrument moving on you, and that's very important. Now, you might also use a strap to keep yourself in position here. That's a whole nother video, but that's another way that you can stay in good position here. But the most important thing is kind of having this instrument braced up against your body so that it's not moving on you as you're trying to move as you strum. So I have my arm braced up against the instrument here, and now what I do is I lift my hand up. But as I lift my hand, my arm still stays on the body of the instrument, so that now I have this range of motion here with my wrist to strum, because most of your strumming is actually happening with your wrist and your finger action. It's not happening with your arm moving up and down, it's happening by just rotating your wrist through here. So to kind of just start with our strumming here, what I like to do is I like to eliminate everything else. So I'm not worried about chords, I'm not worried about a chord progression, I'm just solely focusing on my strumming. So in order to do that, I like to mute my strings here. So I just take my fingers and I touch the strings so that I get this nice dead sound as I strum across the strings. Now, with my strumming hand, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just my index finger and my thumb. Those are the only two fingers I'm worried about now. And with my index finger, I'm going to set up by kind of curling my index finger in towards my palm and making this little hook shape here. And I'm going to start that above the strings because my first strum is going to be down. So I have the neck muted here. And then with my index finger, I can just brush through the strings, and when I come back up, I close the hook. So it doesn't matter what the pattern that we talk about is throughout this entire series. Whenever we strum down, we're kind of brushing through with our index finger, and whenever we come up, we're going to be brushing up with our index finger. That may change later on if we start using our thumb, because the other option here would be to go down with your index finger and up with your thumb. So I'll let you play around with that. Maybe one is more comfortable than the other, but what I would suggest is I would not hold my two fingers together as I do this. I want to keep a nice, very finesse feel when I'm strumming on a stringed instrument here, especially with nylon strings. You want to have that nice sound, so you don't really want to use a lot of attack, and I think holding your fingers together kind of creates a little too much abrasiveness on the strings. So I like to kind of go through a little bit more brushing through. So the first thing I want to do together is we're just going to kind of start by strumming down and up together, nice and slow, and I'll count with this. And counting is the other important thing to mention here. So when we're counting, we're talking about strumming down and up. So when you count, when you do that, your down strum will be the numeral, so I would count down as 1, and when I come up, that's when I count and. So as you go down and up, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So let's say that you have a song, it's in the 4/4 time signature. When you count your strumming pattern, you'll count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's if you're doing the down-up strum. Now, something to note about strumming patterns. All strumming patterns that you'll learn in the 4/4 time signature are actually just derived from that down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. We might change the order of how we do that. We might omit some of the up strums, and that changes how you count, which I'll show you when we get there. But just note here, your down strum is going to be a numeral, your up strum is going to be an and. So let's just try this. I want to kind of just get this language going between us here. So we'll just hold the strings muted, and we're just going to strum down, up, and we're just going to count together. So just count with me at home. And as you're doing this, something I like to do for a little bit more precision is if I'm really focusing on a new strumming pattern, I like to keep my eyes here on my hand. And I watch my hand so that I'm not getting too big with my strum. I'm not tense. I can really feel and see what I'm doing so that if I need to make an adjustment, I can do that. If I'm kind of staring off into the distance, not watching my hand, my technique, my precision can go away. So keep your eyes on your hand as you're doing this and just kind of count with me nice and slow. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Something else I want to mention here about your finger. So this is a question that kind of comes up often with a lot of my students is, am I using my fingernail or am I using the fleshy part of my fingertip here? Well, you can hear the difference here. I'll just hold down a G chord as I do this, but if I strum with my nail, you can kind of hear that as I do that. If I use more of the pad of my finger, I'm going to get a lot softer tone. So if you're able to do that with your fingertip, it's more kind of turning your finger sideways and keeping it small here as you go through the pattern. Or if you want to just use kind of where your nail and your finger skin meet, that's kind of where I like to strum. It's kind of the spot in between. So I get a little touch of the nail in there, but not enough to make it kind of too rigid. So find the balance there, and again, kind of find what's most comfortable to you. This is a stringed instrument where the strings are, you know, they feel a little bit looser than a standard tuning uke. So you have a little bit more give and a little play in the strings. So you can kind of put a little bit more attack on these strings and you'll be okay because you have some wound strings here to work with. But again, it's a stringed instrument. You want to kind of have a nice finesse sound to it. So moving on from the muted strum, let's take a look at our first strumming pattern, which is going to be down, down, up. So this pattern, so we've talked a little bit about counting, would be counted 1, 2, and. So we have our first strum, which is down, and then we have a ghost strum, so we're going to bring our hand back up, but we don't strum the strings, and then we go down, up. So again, that pattern would be 1, 2, and. 1, 2, and. So the first strum, and I'm only going to say this because I feel like this is a strumming pattern that you would probably apply to more country, Americana, folk styles of music, that first down strum can kind of be a bounce to it. So when I strum, I kind of am bringing my hand up right away so I can go into that second strum. So I'd be going 1, 2, and 1, 2, and. So let's just start here, and anytime I'm doing a new strumming pattern, I like just to kind of keep a lot of my focus on strumming, not on my fretting hand. So when we do this, we're just going to hold down a single chord here so we can really focus in on our strumming. So holding down a G chord, ring finger on the 3rd fret on the E string. Let's try this together with this strumming pattern, and I'll just count as we go. Just kind of relax. Take it easy as you're strumming this here. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, 2, and So something I also want to kind of make mention of here is the position where my hand is on in relationship here to the sound hole. So you're probably noticing that I'm strumming here kind of over the fretboard. So I would say the sweet spot, and I know people ask me this all the time, where is the sweet spot for strumming? Well, in my opinion, I think it's between the back of the sound hole and kind of where the neck and the body meet. So you have this area here. Now maybe your arm is slightly longer than mine. You maybe need to back up a little bit, or maybe you're a little bit further forward. Again, it's subjective. You can kind of play along, or play around with it a little bit and see what sounds the best to you. I think the further back you go on the strings, the more of that little banjo type of sound you get, and the more forward you get that little rounder, kind of sweeter tone. So I like to kind of be in this region here, but that's also kind of a product of the length of my arm. So now that we have that pattern now down, down, up, let's try to incorporate that into a couple of chords here. So the first chord again we have is going to be G. And then we're going to move to an E minor chord, which is middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. And then we're going to just go one more chord here. We're going to add a C chord by putting our index finger on the B string of the 1st fret. So just those 3 chords. And we're going to take the strumming pattern and do it 4 times per chord. So I'll count us in with a 4 count. We're going to go nice and slow. If it helps you to count as you do this, please do so. And let's get to it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 2, 2, and 3, 2, and 4, 2, and switch, 2, 2, and 3, 4, to C, 2, 3, 4, back to G, 2, all right, so now we're going to pick up the pace a little bit here. We're going to do the same chord progression. I'm going to add 1 chord to the end. We're going to do a D7 chord here to finish up the progression. So we have G, E minor, C, and then we're going to move to G7, which is, sorry, D7, D as in dog. We have middle finger on the G string, 2nd fret, index on the B string, 1st fret, and ring on the E string, 2nd fret. So that'll be a D7 chord here. All right, so we're going to check out this progression now at a little faster tempo. Again, we'll do 4 times per chord, and I'll count us through. We're going to actually go through this progression 2 times, so you have a chance to kind of improve. If the first time through you have any hiccups, always try to kind of improve on your next repetition. That's the way that you kind of improve your skill set here. So here we go with a 4 count in, starting on our G chord. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 2, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 2, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to G. Here we go. Smile, you're playing your baritone, guys. Happy days they're back again. And on the D7, 2, 3, 4. Well, it was a lot of fun, and I thank you guys so much for joining me today for the first of our baritone strumming series. We've got some cool new patterns set for you in the upcoming episodes, so make sure you check back in with us. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure that you are getting those alerts by clicking that alert bell. And I also want to mention that I put together some exercises for this series at allforuke.com, where you can actually work with the metronome, try out some different chord progressions, and really work on this strumming pattern and some of the other ones in the future that we're going to be debuting in the upcoming weeks. So my name's Kevin. I thank you so much for watching today. If you like this baritone, it's available on the All for Uke website. You can check it out. I'm a Kala affiliate, and I think you'd really like this instrument. I'll see you next time, guys. Take care.